Every time I turn the camera on, the cats go insane. Hey y'all, I wanted to say really quickly before I get into the video, I changed my @ on Instagram, and I feel like I have to announce that because in every single video it's Courtney Semple, but now it's cjades. I don't know if there's a way to mass edit descriptions. I don't think so because not all my descriptions are exactly the same. But my new Instagram is just cjades. But I'm back and I have some creepy Reddit stories for you guys. There's 25 stories in this article. We're not going to get through all of them, obviously. But I did say that one time and there was 30 stories and I got through all 30 something, but I don't actually believe there was 30. But let's hop into this. The first story says, home alone. Best friend's parents were out of town one weekend and she had the house to herself. Went about her business, having dinner, watching TV, then decided to go to bed. She was lying in her bed with her back to her closet when she heard the door open. She somehow pretended to be asleep. The man who was hiding in the closet walked around her bed to the side she was laying/facing, gently stroked her hair and face, and then left. She immediately called her boyfriend to ask him to come over and then called her parents and then the police. Long story short, this man had been getting into their home via a doggy door. They didn't have a dog, they didn't bother to secure it, and he'd been living in a tent in the foresty area behind their home for months to creep on her. They found a ton of surveillance footage of her sleeping and pieces of her clothes and stuff. If I recall correctly, this happened somewhere in Alabama, most likely the mid-2000s. That is so scary. Can you imagine a man literally, basically living in your home without you knowing? Getting in through a doggy door and hiding in your closet to oh my god, no, we have to move on. This one says party invite. A guy I was good friends with had a party one night and called me to invite me over. It was me and my wife's first day off together in a while, and our daughter was 2 years old. I mentioned it to my wife, and my daughter said, no, don't go. Of course, I can't resist that, so I stayed home and we had a good night. My friend, however, had the worst night of his life. His party was going good and everything was fine, even though there was a friend of a friend there no one really knew. Turns out this stranger had been smoking PCP and decided to start killing people. He took a butcher knife and slashed 3 people's throats. My friend's wife threw their kids out of a 2-story window and jumped out herself, took them into the woods and called the police. All 3 people died. The police found the guy walking down the side of the road covered in blood and incoherent. He had no idea what he had just done. Oh my... I only read the first one before deciding on this article. Oh my god. I can't imagine. And most of the time, these progressively get worse. At least I feel like that's how it normally goes. So, this next one says the Wichita massacre. I'm kind of scared. HG, the lone survivor of what would later be called the Wichita massacre. She was a 25-year-old elementary school teacher at the time and had gone to the triplex where her boyfriend, Jason Beffert, a science teacher, lived with 2 roommates. Brad Haka, a chemist, and Aaron Sander, who was studying to become a priest. HG settled in front of the TV and began grading papers when Heather Muller, a friend of Aaron Sanders, showed up. The 5 friends watched TV and eventually retired to their various bedrooms. HG was woken up from her sleep shortly after by loud voices and the bedroom door being kicked open. The 2 perps eventually gathered all of the persons in the residence and herded them to the bedroom and ordered them, at gunpoint, to strip. Many atrocities occurred as hours went by, but in the end, HG, after being shot in the head in a frozen soccer field, ran naked for almost a mile to find a house with Christmas lights. It was mid-December, to beg for assistance. What the fuck? Okay, this one says Shasta Groen. I'm probably saying that wrong, but oh my god, I can't handle these. The murder of the Groen family. A deranged pedo named Joseph Edward Duncan was already on the run from cops for a past sexual assault. He was incredibly charming and manipulative and was truly pure evil. He camped outside a family's rural home unseen by them. He picked it out after driving past it and seeing children's toys outside. He watched them from afar, got to know their routine with the intent of kidnapping the children, 10-year-old Dylan and 8-year-old Shasta. Jed found the lock on the door was broken, entered the home in the middle of the night, and tied up the mom, dad, and teenage son. He put Shasta and Dylan in his car and killed the rest of the family with a hammer. Oh my god, this is not what I was expecting. He traveled around various campsites and cabins with Shasta and Dylan captive. I'm not going to go into that. He eventually shot Dylan, but Shasta talked him out of killing her. Jed ended up telling her she taught him how to love. The scariest part is the CCTV footage, as if this could get worse, is CCTV footage of Jed and Shasta at a gas station, because you could easily believe they were just a normal dad and grumpy daughter if you were an onlooker. Eventually, he took her to a diner where he was finally apprehended when a witness noticed something was up and Shasta was saved after 7 weeks in his clutches. As he was dragged away, he called to her, "Promise me you'll visit me in prison," and she said she would. I don't know if she ever did. Jed was put on death row and found to be guilty of 3 previous child murders. He died a few months ago from cancer. But the worst part of it all is how horrible Shasta's life has been afterwards. Drug addiction, in and out of jail, losing her children, etc. Just the most horrifying story ever. Oh my god. When I saw crazy, scary, creepy Reddit stories, I was expecting like paranormal, weird, stalker shit, not this. But I'm gonna keep going. Coming home to horror. Like, are these all about murder? I remember reading ages ago about a guy who was in the military. He got back home after a tour of duty to find his wife and 2 kids dead. They lived in a remote location. Turned out the mom had a sudden heart attack or stroke or something, and the 2 little kids had died of starvation or dehydration as they were too young to care for themselves. Not exactly a ghost story, but as a parent, that scares the shit out of me. That is heartbreaking. Okay, this next one I hope isn't like as bad. It says the worst visit to the eye doctor ever. We're gonna see what this is. I'm an eye doctor, and I had a patient come to me with an infected eyelid. 2 other doctors tried to treat and failed. They were dumping all sorts of medicine into it, and it wasn't getting any better. At this point, it was swollen and painful for weeks with no improvement despite being on tons of meds. Apparently, neither of them thought to flip the lid upside down, you know, that gross trick some kids do with their upper eyelids. It was a painful maneuver for her very swollen eyelid, which might explain it. Anyhow, there appeared to be what looked like a visible abscess inside the tissue with thick, gooey material. I thought I would give it a nudge and saw it move. This wasn't an abscess, it was something else. I managed to remove it quite easily in one piece. It was a fly larva. The patient told me she had a bug hit her eye a few days before she got this infection. Oh, I removed the larva. Within 2 days the wound closed and she was 100% recovered on basic antibiotic eye drops. Yes, I do have the photos from this case for anyone interested. I don't need to see it. And now I have a new fear unlocked, but at least that wasn't, like, that was disgusting, but that wasn't as bad as the others, so maybe these don't get progressively worse. I don't know. This one's super short. It says natural disasters. The story of Lake Neos disaster. The lake periodically belches a cloud of invisible carbon dioxide gas that suffocates everything within a 16-mile radius. In 1986, over 1,700 people and all their livestock died without even understanding what was happening to them. Okay, that's scary. Okay, the body in the barrel, so I think we're back to the bad ones. The Raina Mariquin story. A young lady had an affair with her boss in the 1960s and got pregnant. After threatening to tell her boss's wife, she was killed by her boss, who then put her body in an industrial barrel. He hid the barrel in his house for years, and none of the various owners opened it due to the weight. Finally, one guy decided to dispose of it in the 90s, and when he opened it, he saw it contained something. An investigation traced the barrel and girl back to the man, who then killed himself before police could come arrest him after confirming he was the father of the unborn baby via DNA. The lady's mother was in her late 80s when she was told her missing daughter was finally found. She claimed she had been having dreams about her daughter being inside a metal container for years after she had gone missing. Men are scary, and we're always right. We just know everything. As women, we just know everything. Like, how do you have dreams about that? And that's so true. I saw a TikTok one time that was like, I had a dream of my boyfriend's password on his phone, and it was the right password. Okay, the smell. When I was younger, me and my twin brother would help our friend do his paper route. One summer, we could smell something gross coming from one of the houses. We all didn't think anything of it until 3 days later when the smell was reaching down the driveway. We went to the back door where he normally dropped the paper and noticed it was open. We went in, looked around the house, and found the owner dead. He died of a heart attack and his cats were eating him. I'm busy. Okay, another short one. These are all kind of short, but this one's like super short. My grandfather's first family. My maternal grandfather, in the days before hot water on tap, put a big pot on to boil before leaving for work for his wife and kids to bathe with. The pot boiled over and extinguished the flame, and he returned to find them dead of carbon monoxide poisoning. My mother was of his second marriage. Another fear unlocked. This just unlocked so many fears. Okay, now we have tiger attack. I'm not sure what the entire story is, but there was a body discovered somewhere in Siberia. His cause of death was freezing, but something was off. Turns out he had been attacked by a tiger. The tiger used his jaws and grabbed the guy by his backpack, picked him up over his head, and slammed him so hard that it snapped both of his femurs. Poor dude lived 3 days after the attack, crawling around in the snow. USS West Virginia. The USS West Virginia was a ship damaged during the attack on Pearl Harbor. After the ship was attacked, the people on board heard banging noises coming from inside the ship. Turns out the noises were people. They were trapped in a room to where they couldn't be broken out of it because of the water that would seep in and drown them, and they couldn't be brought out from the top because of the gases that lingered that were extremely flammable. When the vessel was salvaged 6 months later, the bodies of these 3 men were found. The other things that remained were empty cans of food and water and a calendar marked from December 7th to December 23rd. Can you imagine being locked in there that fucking long? This means they were trapped there for 16 days. They probably kept wondering if they were ever going to make it out, and then had to come to the realization that they might not be saved, and they had the fear of drowning in the tight little compartment of the ship. They had to face the realization that you are going to die and the psychological torture that goes along with it. A new life. A woman I worked with a few years ago told me how her life changed drastically. She went from having a decent job to becoming an alcoholic and working as a cleaner. She had planned to move to Spain with her husband and young daughter and had a great job lined up out there. The plan was her husband and daughter would fly out first, and she would fly over a week or two later due to finishing her old job a little later than planned. Her husband rang her on the day he arrived and said the house was lovely and the furniture had arrived by ferry. That was the last time she ever heard from him. Her husband and daughter were found dead by authorities a few days after she rang, explaining she was concerned for their welfare and that she had no contact with them and she was extremely worried. It was carbon monoxide poisoning. It's so scary to think how fast your life can change. I'm scared. I'm scared of carbon monoxide poisoning because I feel like it's more common than we think. This next story says the creepy chairman. There was a guy in my town who stalked women at the furniture store. He would watch women pick out new chairs and he would just linger there and drop these strange comments. That chair would look nice in my den. Then one night he followed one of the women home. He sneaked into their living room and then waited for them to enter the room. He would then jump out and surprise them. He would yell, "I knew you took my chair," and he would scream and chase them. This happened over the course of 5 years. The local police never did anything because he was brothers with the sheriff. Women couldn't buy furniture by themselves. They had to start bringing chaperones. My camera stopped recording, but like, what? That's the weirdest one. Okay, Candyman. The story that inspired Candyman is pretty creepy. A woman in a Chicago apartment was murdered by some drug dealer who lived next door. How did he get into her apartment? Through a hole behind her bathroom cabinet/mirror. Well, now I gotta go check everything. Missing child found in her bed. I read a story recently about Paulette Gerbera Farah, a 4-year-old child who went missing from her room in 2010. Her parents immediately notified authorities and started a social media campaign to find Paulette. Paulette's room was searched multiple times and used by her parents to do media interviews. Here's the terrifying part. Paulette was found dead 10 days later in her bed. She had wedged herself between the mattress and the footboard and suffocated. Here's the bed before they found her. I don't want to look at it. It's insane looking at that picture and knowing she is there and no one had found her. I can't even look at that because, no, that is, what, oh my god. Weems. Okay, oceanic predators. I feel like these are, like what? Wait, how do we go from that to this? I don't know what this story's about, but what? Marine biologists attached a tag to a 9-foot-long great white shark. The device measured temperature and depth to monitor the shark's movements. The tag was later found washed up on a beach. Its data showed that 4 months after it was attached, the female great white abruptly dove to a depth of 1,903 feet, 580 meters. The ambient temperature surrounding the tag spiked from 46 degrees to 78, 8 Celsius to 26. The data suggested an attack. So this tracker attached to a great white was pulled down rapidly and measured higher temperature consistent with some animals' internal body temperature. I don't really understand what that's saying. It just got attacked and died? Like, is that what happened? I don't know. How do we go from a little girl being in her bed dead to a shark? I don't know. Oh, this one says clowns. A few years ago, a dude dressed as a clown came to a camp I went to. Apparently, he broke into the cabin I was staying in and stole stuff from some people in my cabin. He took primarily cash and a phone that kids had on them. I saw him there, but I was so young, I didn't think much of it. Apparently, they couldn't find him because of the gloves he wore and his full-body costume. All the kids had their stuff replaced, but the craziest part is a few of us heard a scream that could not have come from a grown man that came from the road. That dude was weird, and it was terrifying as an 11-year-old. I don't like that. Okay, Timmy Evans. I'm kind of skipping some of these because it's I don't care about the shark story, so I'm kind of skipping some. But this says Timmy Evans. In 1949, Timothy Evans was wrongly executed for murdering his pregnant wife and daughter. The actual murderer, John Christie, was a prosecution witness at Evans' trial. After Evans was executed, Christie went on to kill 4 more people. Had the police handled the forensic evidence properly, Christie would have been caught when they were investigating Evans, and those 4 people would still be alive. The government didn't acknowledge that Evans was innocent until 2004. Fuck everyone. Okay, do not try to find us. It's not a scary story, but it's spooky and always captured my imagination. One day, a bunch of, I think they were police in training, explored some of the catacombs under Paris. A lot of them are completely unmapped. They entered an area and heard dogs barking and snarling. They continued going and saw there were speakers mounted on the wall, playing pre-recorded dog sounds and cameras. They continued. They came to this huge opening and found a cinema. It was lavishly decorated, had projectors and a mix of old and new movies. It even had electricity running in 3 phone lines. The police marked where they were and went back outside. The next day they returned to try and investigate further with more experienced officers. Everything was gone. All the wiring had been ripped out, all the furniture was gone, all that remained was a note that said, "Do not try to find us." As far as I know, they never figured out who was there. Oh, that was actually the last one. I only skipped a couple, so I was wrong when I said we wouldn't get through all 25. I skipped some that seemed kind of boring, but maybe they weren't boring, but also whatever. That is all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed. Like, is that even like an appropriate thing to say after reading stories of that nature? If you have any scary stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit link down below. I hope you don't have anything comparable to this. I'm praying. That was bad. Some of those were really bad. But anyways, I'm gonna go because I have some rambling to do, but I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I wanted to update you guys really quickly, and I was gonna film a whole video about this. In fact, I did film a whole video about this, but I think the video could come off as triggering, and so I didn't want to post it. And I did put like a trigger warning at the beginning of the video, but I do think it's such a touchy subject that like no matter what I say, or no matter how careful I am with my words, I feel like somebody could get triggered, even if I don't know, it's a hard video to film. So I'm gonna keep it brief, and I'm just gonna tell you guys here, I'm switching medications. You guys know I'm always super honest about my mental health, and I have been doing amazing. Like, ever since I started the medications that I'm on, I have not felt my depression in the slightest. I've been very happy, and I've been very, like, I don't know, I've been like living my life, it feels like, and that was something I didn't do for a very long time. But, and this is a trigger warning, I'm gonna talk about weight just a little bit. I'm not gonna go into too much detail. My meds, my Abilify, I don't think I've ever talked about what medications I'm on, but I'm on Abilify, and it's known to cause like severe weight gain. I have gained a lot of weight since I've been on the medication, and I'm just not very happy with my body right now, and no matter how hard I try to like lose weight or maintain weight, I just keep gaining because that's just the nature of the medication. And I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, that like if you're my size, there's something wrong with you or whatever. It's just, there are parts of me that you don't see that I see, that I just feel like it's out of control almost. And it's one of those things where I'm just gonna keep gaining more weight, and it's also affecting parts of my life past my physical appearance. It's affecting my cholesterol. I could potentially be pre-diabetic. I have to get blood work done all the time to make sure that I'm not pre-diabetic. And it's all because of this medication. It messes with like your metabolic something, I don't know. So me and my psychiatrist decided to try something new. I haven't started it yet because I'm nervous. I already stopped my Abilify a couple days ago. I have the new medication. I'm probably gonna start it tonight or tomorrow. It's just like, I'm a little nervous because it apparently makes you really drowsy and really dizzy. And I want to do it on a night where I don't have anything like going on, and I think I might have a sleepover tonight when I'm filming this, so I don't want to take it tonight and like be like dying and like potentially throw up, I don't know. So I'm probably gonna start it tomorrow, so I'll update you guys when I start taking it, if I feel good or if I feel bad or whatever. She said that she has high hopes, my psychiatrist has high hopes that this will be the only one I need to try. This one does not cause weight gain. Like, it's a side effect for any like antipsychotic. It's like a mood stabilizer. It's always a side effect, but this one, it's like super low chances. So, but yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on that, because if this doesn't work for me, I'm a little nervous because I just don't want to like fall into a depression and not like be able to work or upload or whatever. So, and I don't know, I don't think that'll happen. I'm trying to be optimistic. So we'll just see how this new medication works out for me. I'm also in a good place regardless of medication, I feel like. So I'm not too concerned, but obviously I'm going to be a little bit nervous. But we'll just see how this goes. I'm not going to go into too much detail about everything because I do think it can be triggering. I talked a lot about weight in the video that I filmed, and I just think it's not something that needs to be talked about. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that like we are so much harder on ourselves than like no one thinks the things that we think about ourselves. I just want to be healthy again because I just don't feel healthy right now. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, so that's my little update. And I hope that was good. I hope that was not I'm just scared of saying the wrong thing, I guess. And depending on how I react to this new medication, I'll probably make a video, like a rambly video, talking about my experience switching over after being on one for so long, like being on the same medications for so long and then switching to something else. I'll probably make a video on that, like how I transitioned, how I felt, if it worked, yada yada yada. So I'll do that maybe in a couple weeks, in a couple months, whenever I feel the effects of it. But I am gonna go, because I kind of have to poop. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. If you did to this part, I know that a lot of people probably clicked off because I know it's such a triggering topic, but I just want to be as honest with you guys as I can be, because I feel like these parts of my life are very important to share. Just because I know that some people are going through the same things, or could possibly go through something like this in the future, or have gone through something like this in the past. I have to burp. And I don't know. I just feel like I like sharing this part of my life with you. I don't know, but I am gonna go. I love you guys so much. See ya!